Welcome, everybody.
Yay.
Hello, come on in. All right.
Hours.
As you are coming in, you are probably muted. Go ahead and stay muted if you would, please, just so we can have clear channels for our panelists. And I will be monitoring the chat and doing my best I can to keep up with that and the panelists as well. If you have a question, and because chat chatter is expected, and please do that. But just to help us pop out, if you'll see in the chat there, all caps word question at the front of it, that helps me to catch that as they go by.
Good,
and do that. And this is being recorded. Feel free to turn your camera on and keep your mute on, or to keep your camera off and have snacks, all totally fine. And I will now pass it to Elissa, who is in charge.
Hi, I'm the moderator today and also one of the panelists. And yeah, so we will start off by everyone introducing themselves. So Carol, do you want to start with a quick introduction?
Yeah. I'm Carol Parchewsky. I'm a writer from Calgary, Alberta. I'm currently in this beautiful mountain village in Europe, in Bulgaria. And I wrote some short Drabble fiction, 100 words each, and it was published at the beginning of this month in the Drabble Advent Calendar. So get your copy and read and enjoy.
Yay.
Nice. And PD Workman, do you want to introduce yourself?
Okay, so I'm also from Calgary, or at least have grown up in Calgary and live in Calgary now. I do mystery, suspense, thriller, and young adult. I did Nano the first time in 2011, and I've won it every year since, as well as doing Script Frenzy or Camp Nano every April and July as well. So I looked up my stats on Nano. It says that I've written 2.3 million words for Nano.
Wow.
And yeah, I've got 71 books published now. The next one is out next week. And that's where I am.
Great.
And Laura.
Hi, I'm Laura VanArendonk Baugh. I write a lot of things in different genres, everything from epic fantasy to nonfiction science. And I started doing NaNoWriMo in 2010. So there's my experience.
Awesome. And then Morgan is one of our guests of honor. We heard her wonderful speech yesterday. If you haven't heard it, check it out on YouTube or Facebook.
Or don't. No, you must obviously watch it. I have not personally watched it back myself, and maybe one day I will get to that. Hi, I'm Morgan Rhodes. I also write as Michelle Rowan. I am a traditionally published and recently indie published with some of the backlist I've gotten back. I've written for mostly Penguin, Grand Central, Harlequin, and a few others. I'm all over the place. These are my books as Morgan Rhodes, or high fantasy YA, multi-point of view, and these are a couple of my examples of my Michelle Rowan, paranormal, light, humorous, mostly paranormal romance. And I first did, I'm older than all y'all. So I first did NaNoWriMo in 2003 when it was barely, a few hundred people. And I actually have a vintage now, I suppose, NaNoWriMo mug. This is my novelist fuel that I got, I think 2003.
Nice.
So that was the first year I won NaNoWriMo with a book that never saw the light of day. And I've done it, I think, 3 times successfully, but I've dabbled here and there. It's all now, if it lines up with when I'm writing a first draft, it's perfect. Happy to be here.
Nice. And I'm Elissa McColl. I live in Canmore, Alberta, and I write young adult. I've written a historical fiction about Amazon warriors, and then I also did a Nano project of a contemporary YA about a whitewater kayaker.
Nice.
So yeah, we'll start off with defining Nano. I'm assuming most people here know what it is, but NaNoWriMo stands for National Novel Writers Month, and it happens every year in November. And basically the goal is to write 50,000 words of a new project in November. So that is the definition, and that is what a lot of people do. It's an online community. They have a website, and you log your words and try to complete that big goal by the end of the month.
And it is international, but they're not going to change the name.
Because that would be impossible to pronounce.
Yeah. So maybe we'll just go around and people can chat about what their experience with Nano has been.
Yeah, I first did Nano in 2016, and it was great because I wrote my first novel then, and I'm working this month on finalizing the revisions for it, but it was great for establishing a daily writing practice and for shutting off my internal editor.
My cat is freaking out, so I'm going to answer this and then scooch off to give him some food because yikes. Remind me what the question was.
Let's talk about your experience with Nano.
So distracting. Yeah, so in 2003, I knew I wanted to be a writer, but I hadn't written anything. Like I hadn't, you know, you get to chapter 2 and it peters out because I didn't realize that I was a plotter. So I was trying to pants it, which I see a question here. Can pantsers do well in Nano? Absolutely, but I'll let maybe the pantsers handle that question more. So I'm like, okay, I heard about it. It wasn't quite as well known back then, obviously, but it was same website and everything like that, and same general setup, not as polished as it is now. And I'm like, this might be just what the doctor ordered, because I wanted to finish something. So I came up with my idea like literally the night before it started, and I sat down and I was in the they have forums, and oh my God, my cat. I don't know if you can hear him. Yeah, and a little thing popped out is, are you playing music? No, I'm not. That's my cat. He's very fat, and he's supposed to be on a diet, but he's protesting. Anyway, so I literally just had a gem of an idea, and I sat down and I worked it out. What is it, like 1,800 words a day or something like that? I'm like, that's a lot. But I knew that I had to just write. I couldn't think about it too much because that's what always tripped me up in the past. And so I never finished anything. So I sat down and I wrote my allotted words, and some days I didn't hit that count, and then I just double it the next day and I keep track. I love the little chart that you can keep track. And at the end of the month, I had 50,000 terrible words, but it was finished and I got to put the end on it. And just doing that proved to me that I could write a book. At least I could write from beginning to end in a relatively short amount of time. So that's the value of that. And that kind of like launched me in going, well, if I did it once, I can do it again, and so on and so forth. So super valuable. I'm going to go. I'll be right back.
So I tried Nano so many times, and I would basically get behind in the first week, and it just felt like so impossible to catch up. And then when I finally did complete, it felt so good. Like I felt like I was a real writer who could actually do work instead of just a procrastinator who tried to call herself a writer sometimes. So I would encourage people to give it a go, and to set up a routine, and to really just make time for your writing. Like one great thing about it being time bound to the month of November is that you can try to like lighten that month from all your other responsibilities. Like I know of people who do not cook in the month of November. Like their partner takes care of all the cooking and they don't cook in the month of November.
Now that Nano has gotten, I want to say mainstream, like people on the street have heard of it, right? It is now the best way to get started. Like I want to carve out some time for my writing. And, the coffee shops, in the before times when we had coffee shops, would have like welcome NaNoWriMo and, that sort of thing. And you could say, oh no, I can't take that on this week. I have my Nano words to get done. And people like, oh, okay. Like they just accept that. And you are never going to get that kind of community support for your writing in the other 11 months of the year. So by all means, take advantage of it when it is available to you, because writing is usually pretty solitary, and Nano is when it becomes a group. So.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that was really important to me at the beginning too, was that, I have a lot of different things to do, a lot of competing things. And I'd been writing for many years. I'd written many books before, and I'd wanted to do this write a book in a month thing. But Nano actually let me say, no, I can't do anything else in November. I've already got plans, don't book me for anything. and would shut myself away and tell my family, no, I haven't got my words yet today. I got to go write my words. So it was really good for me to do that. And to have the community support. I don't like the new forums as much, but back when it was a little bit easier to chat with your friends and see what your friends' scores were, then just having that support where you had some friends, some buddies doing the same thing.
And the other thing that I found helpful was on Twitter, that they would post for the word sprints. And so, and what a word sprint is where you have a set time. It could be 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, a half an hour. And you just start writing away and you see how many words you get in that time period and you share. And so, and sometimes they might have a theme for it, but it was a great way just to, okay, let me turn off distractions and write for this time. And sometimes when you start sprinting, you just keep running and keep going.
Yeah.
And if you live in Calgary or in a community that has a good number of nanos, then they actually have local events as well where you can go and do a write-in and see other people who are doing it in person. And Calgary has a great Rimo group for that.
Yeah, and so I live in Canmore, and our local library did a thing, one Nano, where they would have like the room set aside certain days of the week for Nano writers. And yeah, and you can often make that sort of thing happen. You can become a host in your local area. Like, so if the community part, like, so some people write better when they have to meet up with people at a certain time and actually write. So yeah, there are a lot of resources available for that, especially during Nano. So yeah, there's a question in the chat about, can a pantser do well in Nano? And so my opinion is that I feel like Nano was kind of designed with pantsers in mind. I feel like you kind of have to modify it a bit as a plotter. Like as a plotter, you kind of have to do a bunch of work in October so that you're ready to write in November.
Which they encourage, and they have work sessions for that. Yeah,
they do now.
Sure.
Yeah, but if you know it's coming up, you can definitely plan for it, and then you have a map. Like I can't write without a map.
I'm a pantser who has by necessity developed that now I'll start with like 3 bullet points to a story. Okay, but that's not my natural form, right? And I feel actually like, yeah, I'm interested in Elissa saying, no, it's really better for pantsers. And I'm like, no, because plotters don't have to panic where these next 1,000 words are going to come from. So I think everybody's got their burden, right? But yes, absolutely, 100%, you can do it no matter your writing style. You just maybe need to modify your goals or your schedule or your plans a little bit.
Laura, I like to call that a plantser.
Yeah, I think plantsers have more than 3 bullet points. I think they have at least 5 to get that
5.
eligible. Yeah.
I think it's a spectrum. Like I always say, I know a lot of romance authors. I know a lot of romance authors, and they're all like, "Oh, we're pantsers." I'm like, well, but romance does have a format. You know, they're going to get together. You know, this is going to they're going to break up, and then at the end they're going to be happy. So it's kind of like a built-in bullet point. But yeah, when you try to do things a little differently, then it gets complicated. But yeah.
Yeah, my first 30 years writing, I totally pantsed everything. And so my first few years in Nano, then those were all pantsed novels. I switched over to plotting, except I don't often know how it's going to end or who the killer is in the end, but I leave that part open. But I do quite a bit of planning ahead now. So yeah, you can do it either way. I had a couple of tricks that I used when I was doing Nano for those first couple of times. One of the stories that I wrote was 6 interweaving stories. And so I would just write which one of the 6 I felt like writing that day. And then if I got stuck there, then I'd go to the next story and start writing that one. And then at the end, after Nano was over, then mixed them all together and straightened them out. And I did another one that was a lot of stream of consciousness and flashbacks and that kind of thing. So it was totally written completely out of order. And then again, at the end of Nano, then I went back and put them into order and massaged it so that it made sense. So there's some tricks that you can use too if you have that time in the middle where you suddenly can't get your 1,600 words down.
Well, and I did one year, I knew my project was going to end up novella length, so not quite enough to count as nano, but it was historical and I was doing a ridiculous amount of research for it. So I also wrote a bunch of blog posts on the history and the research, and I counted both of those to make it to 50. Like, there's no nano police. Okay, it worked out. So yeah, you can make things work. You can always make things work.
Speaking as a hardcore plotter, I think pantsers always get the wrong impression of us as crazy plotters, but things change. Like, we can have a plot, and all of a sudden, because pantsers are always like, oh, well, I wouldn't be interested in writing the book if I already knew what went. But the thing is, for me, I don't plot what my characters are going to say. So they can start having a conversation. I'll get in the zone and, they take over, which is, I wish that would happen more often and wouldn't be as hard. But, and then one of them, like, I have an example in the Fallen Kingdom series, a character I was totally planning on killing off, and he was just so delightful on the page, and he had all these agendas and these plans. I'm like, you may live. So then I had to tweak the ending, and it ended up differently. Yeah, the more books I write, the more often the ending is different than what was in the plot.
Yeah, and what I had done one time was in October, I brainstormed a list of scenes that I wanted to have happen and just wrote out 5 to 6 words about the scene. And so then, as I was writing in November, I could look, and either I could, write the story in sequence, or I could say, no, I want to work on this scene today. This is what I want to do. And I like plotting and I like pantsing. But as Morgan said about the plotting, you can have things laid out in terms of the story arc, but the magic then happens. When I was writing my story, I had this beautiful, sad scene happen in the girls' washroom in the junior high. And my character's just cowering in the bathroom stall, and I cried. And, I kept writing, and it was magical. So, and I didn't have that in my plan.
Yeah. And I mean, if you're a plotter, you can also do brainstorming as some of your works. Like, that's what I often did. I would get stuck and I'd be like, I don't know where this scene is going. And I would just kind of free write plotting stuff. And that everything counts as a word was my rule. Like, any word I put down with anything related to the story counted towards Nano, whether I was character brainstorming. And, sometimes it was things like, oh, well, what would her mother react to with this? What is her mother like? What's her mother's backstory? And sometimes just rambling stuff like that, that's not prose at all, can count towards your goals.
PD, is that your plotting board?
Yeah. So that's my plotting board. So
very neat. It's very nice and pretty.
It's so organized. I don't believe it's real.
And I just see on her chalkboard there, she's got nano, which is very funny.
Yes, my husband can never remember the word NaNoWriMo, so he says, "Oh, it's your nano month, right?" Yeah,
like Mork from Mork.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so these are generally 5 different plot lines.
Oh yeah,
but they can happen in different orders. I'm about, where am I right now? I'm about right here in my timeline right now, but there's some stuff here that's been covered already, and there's some stuff that I might have missed, and I'll go back and do, and that kind of thing. So is
that color coded magnets, or are they just random?
No, they're just random.
Okay. Right.
And I've done a lot of back and forth there. I've done a lot of different planning methods. I usually start with a mind map where I'm just doing random connections. This is the next book in my series, and so what's this character been doing, what's this one up to, what open loops are left, and start brainstorming about what the different characters are doing and that kind of thing. Then when I sort of see a plot starts to gel, then I go through to a sort of a snowflake method, where first I do the log line, then I do a 5-sentence summary, and then I do my back cover blurb, and then I start to do a more expanded outline, and this is what I've switched to for my more expanded outline. because then it doesn't have to be linear where it's this happens, then this happens, then this happens, then this happens. It's more of a flow where I can kind of take stuff as it comes.
Like scientific,
and then,
you're very scientific about it. It makes me feel like maybe I'm not a plotter after all, because I'm chaotic.
And then I expand my characters a little bit and that kind of thing, do my cover and title and research whatever I need to research, and then I'm ready to go. I also have so I've got a bunch of stuff on the computer too, and then I also have a writing journal where in the morning it's sort of a pre-writing thing where I think about what did I write yesterday, what am I going to write today, and start making some notes and asking some questions and that kind of thing, so that when I sit down to do my writing, that I'm not going, I wonder what I should do now.
Yeah, I do that. I do the macro plotting to get my general. And then when I sit down to do a writing day, which I don't do every day. I mean, that's off topic, but I don't write normally unless it's NaNoWriMo. I don't write every day. I would sit down. I always have a parallel journal. So I'll just date it and I'll say, well, this is the chapter I'm going to write today. And then I micro plot it, like the internal, external conflict and anything that comes to mind that I might forget, because I'm a fast drafter anyhow. So every month is NaNoWriMo for me.
Okay, so yeah, me too. A little bit of hope into the chat for people listening to PD and Morgan and being like I'm sitting here right here, like just in awe. So I have a really good friend. We both do Nano. We're both published authors, and she has like color breakdowns, like what PD's talking about, and like she knows there will be 35 chapters. She knows chapter 28 will have 1,700 words. It's all colored. I don't know, like, did you sacrifice a goat? I don't know how this happens.
Yes,
I sit down with a bunch of paper and a bunch of dark chocolate. We both get through the month of November and come out on the end with a winner's badge. So realistic, it's not about like systems help, but the system can be whatever your system is. My system is dark chocolate, but whatever the system is for you.
And like I say, I've been doing Nano. Yeah. I've been writing for almost 40 years.
We're like the View. We're like the View ladies on the View. Go ahead. Sorry, PD. You've got the floor.
So I've been writing novels for almost 40 years, and I've been doing Nano since 2011. So, these systems have developed over time. And like I said, I pantsed for the first 30, and I'll still pick a novel out and pants it as well. So
I'm sorry, did you say you've been writing novels for 40 years?
Almost. I wrote my first one when I was 12.
Yeah, I was going to say you don't even look 40 to me. So.
Oh, yes.
And I will say my best friend, who is also a writer, Eve Silver, who wrote the Rush trilogy in YA, she is my opposite. I always say we should do panels together because everything I do, she does the opposite. She's a 100% pantser. She doesn't even have the character name. She says she sits down and her hero is YY and her heroine is XX or whatever the chromosomes are. She's way smarter than me. And no idea, just a gem or a germ of an idea. And then by the time she finishes, she edits as she goes, which I don't recommend in NaNoWriMo, because then you're going to just don't do it. Just keep pushing forward. And by the end, she's done. Like that's her first draft is her last draft because she edits as she goes. It's incredible and very intimidating.
One thing that I found that has helped me when I'm going for the words and to get the story down is if I know that I want to add something in, or I want something to happen, or I want to expand, I put a little note for myself. And I'm not sure where I picked this up, but I'll put TK in capital letters and I'll add some words just in the text of my document. So then I can go through and I can search for all my TKs and address those or expand them. Because sometimes as you're writing, you just don't quite want to get in yet into the weeds of the scene, and you just want to keep moving the story. And so, and the other thing that, as my fellow panelists have said, there is no one writing method that works for everyone. And you have to experiment and try different ways to find what works for you. And you can compare yourself to other writers, but The only person you're competing with is yourself, and recognize and celebrate your accomplishments. If you wrote one word, if you sat at your desk for 10 minutes and you thought about your story, you did something.
Mm-hmm. I remember the first conference I ever went to was Romance Writers of America. And it was, 15 years ago, and I hadn't been published yet. And I went to every single workshop, and everybody had something different to say. And by the end of it, I'm like, but what's the truth?
What's the right way?
What's the right way? I'm even more confused than when I got in. And that's why I think NaNoWriMo is great to discover your process. Because if you found your process, it's not going to be torture. It should be fun. So follow the fun is what I say to find your process.
And this
That's
is
good. I'm
probably,
going to make a t-shirt out of that trademark.
it's probably a good place to point out too, that, there are no nano police. Like, there is an official goal, but there are also lots of other ways to be successful. And, if I'm going to do 10 5,000 word short stories, or I'm going to do 50,000 words, but in a project that I didn't start on November 1st, a continuing project, or, there's lots of ways you can do this. 1 year I deliberately lost Nano. I was going strong, but I was also trying to write Nano and do revisions on another book that I wanted to have out at the beginning of the next year. I was a self-publisher. I had a target date for cultural reasons that I knew that would be a good time to release. And I realized I couldn't do both. So I gave up Nano so I could finish my revisions and get that book out. That book ended up winning an award. So, does it count as a Nano win? It does not. Does it count as the career win? Yes, I made the right choice. Okay, there's lots. I have no guilt about that. Okay, there's lots of things that you can do. If you end up with more words and more progress than you started with, it was worth it. Done.
Yeah. 1 year I did what I called NaNoWriMo, and I said for every hour I spent revising my project, that counted as 1,000 words. And I just spent the whole month of November focused on revision and just putting the time in to revise a project.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's something called Nano Rebels, and you can look that up and find all sorts of different methods of using the energy of Nano for whatever you're particularly working on. It doesn't have to just be the set in stone 50,000 words. Yeah.
Isn't there haven't they branched out and they have sister months, like the editing month?
So there's camps in April and July.
April
and I think you set your own goals for those. Mm-hmm. And you can invite people into your cabin.
Oh, not anymore.
I started those. Oh, you can't do that anymore?
They changed away from cabins.
Oh, COVID, you can't have people in your cabin.
No cabin.
It was so good. Yeah. Yeah, they're not forums, they're groups, something like that. So now you can be in more than one. But there tends to be a lot of noise because it makes announcements every time somebody achieves a medal. So it's just this long list of so-and-so got 1,000 words, so-and-so got,
Yeah. And also, if you're intimidated by stuff like that, or if you're intimidated and all of a sudden you're following people and other people are like, oh, I just wrote 10,000 words today. And you're like, well, now I don't want to write anything. You got to kind of judge what is toxic to you and protect the muse, that little muse. She has very thin skin.
Yeah. I have started, I've started when usually now we talk in Facebook groups or that kind of thing with Nano guys, because then so we don't get all those interruptions. But they often say, how many words did you get today, and so on, and I'll just post, I got my goal today, because I don't want to be posting how many words I got and having people going, oh, that's too many, that's so many, and I didn't get many. It's like, no, I have my own goals for Nano, which are not the same, and if my quota is 6,000 or 7,000 words in a day, then I'm not going to post that and make somebody feel bad.
Right. The competition is not, it's for, to find people who are doing the same thing and getting energy from that, not an intimidation thing. So
yeah, get encouragement from others, compete with yourself.
Because it's not like one person wins, they don't get an actual gold medal and a publishing contract. Literally, it's just you're competing with yourself.
Yeah. And they call it winning when you've got 50,000 words. But I would argue that nobody who gets under 50,000 is losing. Like by participating, you are getting something.
Right.
And it's all about developing habits. And
oh no, I only got 20,000 words more than I had. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And also, I mean, what are your goals in joining NaNoWriMo in the first place? Are you just want to write for fun? You got a story in your head you want to get out? Or at the other end of the spectrum, are you writing something that you want to have published, either indie or traditional? So that's changed a lot, obviously, in the last 10 years, as indie is so much more accessible. I know my agent says, I think he said once that there is an influx of queries on December 1st. Because all the people who've just written a book in 30 days.
I know a number of agents will close their inboxes during December for that reason. Please revise. Please revise.
Don't be that person. Don't be that person.
Yeah.
So after you guys have won Nano and it's December 1st, then what do you do? Like what is your December after Nano process?
I use my Scrivener discount to update Scrivener.
That is actually one of the best reasons to do Nano is all the coupons and discounts you get to play with. Like absolutely,
right.
Yeah. Gosh, I don't know. I haven't done Nano for a while. I should do it this year. What is this? Is August, September? Okay, I could probably do it in November. But I wrote last time I joined Nano, it was 2011. Yeah. 2011. So that's 10 years. And I wrote 50,000 words of Fallen Kingdoms in NaNoWriMo. So, I mean, that was just a small part of that book. But afterward, I think I had to finish the book. So, I mean, you just keep writing or you take a break and probably, go shopping or something.
Last year on December 1st, I started a different writing challenge, but it was only 25K. So, it felt like I was
nothing, right?
I took a break that was supposed to be a couple days, that turned into a week, that turned into a month. And then afterwards, I was like, okay, I need to plan next time what my December is going to be because that just slipped away from me.
Yeah.
So I write a book every month. So as far as writing goes, then Nano is no different for me from another month. It's just having the community. So after I finish the book, then I put it aside for 30 days to season, and I go on and edit the other books that I've written in the last few months.
We need to do a deeper dive on this one right here.
Yeah.
So you write a book a month.
Yes.
And how long are these books usually? How many words?
Anywhere from 60,000 to 155,000.
Okay, cool. Number one, I hate you. And number two, how do you keep from burning out?
So I have, I have a system, right? So I do it the same every month. The hardest one for me was the 155,000, which was during Nano when I also had a conference to go to in Las Vegas for a week. And also my mother-in-law died that month. So we had to go to her funeral and some other things as well.
Sorry.
So that one, I finished that one on about the 27th, when usually I finish around the 19th.
So you wrote, hold on, wait, lady. You wrote 155,000 words in 27 days while having all that other stuff going on. Yeah. Kick her out. She's intimidating.
It's Workman.
And this is why there are many
that's why her last name is Workman.
In NaNoWriMo.
Hey, is your middle name NaNoWriMo?
The writer.
Yeah, exactly.
That is incredible.
Anyway, so my process is I do my research and planning the last week of the month. So I always start a new book on the 1st, unless it's a Sunday. I write 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday.
Okay, I'm going to start cyber stalking you, just so you know, because I'm going to be following your process. I need
pdworkman.com.
I need 10% of your creative energy.
And so then, depending on how long the book is, then my quota is either 5,000 words a day or 6,000 words a day. For that longer book, when I knew I was going to be away at the conference, then I was aiming for 7,000 or 8,000 the week before the conference, so I would get ahead a little bit. And so I do 5,000 words a day or 6,000 words a day till it's done, which is usually between the 19th and the 23rd. Then do a quick revision and put it aside for 30 days and pick up the other ones that I've written the last few months, revise them, and then the last week of the month, then start planning the next one.
Do you write mostly in series or?
Yeah, I'm doing mostly series now. When I started, then I was doing a lot of standalones. Now I do mostly series. I have, I think, 9 series going right now. The longest one I'm working on the 16th right now. I've got one that's 16, one that's 15. No, just a sec. One that's 16, one that's 12, one that's 9, and then some shorter ones as well.
Holy mother of God. So you're basically rich. That's what you're saying.
No, but I did start writing full-time this year.
Good for you.
So at this point, then I am supporting myself and my family with my writing. Up until this year, then I was also working full-time as a legal secretary. And for part of it, I was, and for 12 years, then I was also homeschooling. And then also with my church obligations, have sometimes been the leader of either the women's auxiliary or the children's auxiliary as well. So.
But I think that's
how to squeeze things in.
Inspiring. And it shows that if you find your process and what works for you, what you can accomplish. And I think it's establishing a writing routine. And whether it's daily, like I keep wanting and to get a daily routine going and to do something at least.
That's important for me.
Yes. And so after this conference, that's going into place.
Yes. So the goal for everyone on the panel and everyone watching, a book a month.
I actually, actually last year also started a novella series, shorter books. And so for that novella series, then I wrote 3 last September and 3 this July. So
okay, now you're just showing off.
Sometimes
no, we need you to leave now.
But that's still shorter than the 155,000 words.
Yeah.
Holy
that still is only.
You know, we'll also be opening the doors for Team Laura sitting over here, or like putting out a chapter every few weeks. No, yeah. NaNoWriMo.
Everybody's different. I mean,
all different processes, everything like that is every writer is different. That's why if I try to write a book a month, I mean, I've been burned out for a few years now, so I would probably never recover from that. I might be able to do it like literally for a year, but I don't want to.
When my son was young, he was very high needs, lots of disabilities, that kind of thing. And the amount of time that I had for writing in a day was 20 minutes riding the train from downtown to my bus stop, standing up on the train, writing on my Palm Pilot. That was the only writing time I had. And so, yeah, it took 2 years to write a book, but I took the time I had.
That's amazing.
And you have different seasons in your life, It may take you 2 years or 10 years to write a book, and it may take you a few weeks to a month, but it all depends on what else is going on in your life, what you have the physical and emotional energy for, and all of that kind of thing.
Well, and I think the thing that Nano so those of us that don't have a routine like that, I think Nano can teach us to make the most of those moments. Like I started writing by dictation during Nano. I started getting tendonitis issues that flared up like a week and a half into Nano. And I was like, no, I'm finally like on track. So then I switched to dictation, and I found that worked really well. I mean, it's a mess and it makes your revision a lot harder. It's like you have that goal and you have to figure out how to get there. And it makes you try to find other methods that maybe you wouldn't have thought of. Whereas if I hadn't been in Nano, I probably would like, oh, I'll just take a couple weeks off, let my wrist recover. Whereas like, no, it's Nano, I have to figure this out.
That's good. Do you find dictation valuable? I actually dabbled in that last year. It didn't really work out for me because there's a bit of a learning curve and it just feels really weird. But I see the benefit. And I know a lot of people who do write as prolifically, maybe not as prolifically as PD, but then they swear by dictation.
So I've only ever used it for drafting. I know some people use it for revision where they basically redo their story through dictation. I haven't done that, but for drafting, I found it really good. And it also, you can kind of get more, it helps you kind of tap into that stream of consciousness a little more because you're not getting slowed down by your fingers. And definitely ignoring the text as it comes up. Because otherwise you're like, no, that's not the right word. So just
shut off your screen.
Yeah, exactly. And then just let it go. And then you fix it later. And
yeah, I bought everything because I usually throw money at my problems and see what sticks. So I bought like the little recorder that fit into my, and then I would send the recording through Dragon, and then I would see. Yeah, I should get back to that. I did spend a lot of money.
What I did was because I was running up against a hard deadline in my MFA, and I had to get my craft paper written. And so I would go for walks with my partner, and I brought my iPhone and I had my earbuds in with the microphone, and I would just talk and talk through my ideas, talk through what I want to say about it. And then, well, I slept. He had my phone, would play the recording, the voice memo into Word. So then I'd get the text into Word, and then I can go back to it. And so there's different ways of using the dictation, because sometimes I find sitting at the computer and talking to the computer more intimidating than talking to a person and recording it on my phone.
I have a friend, actually, that reminds me, a friend recently was experiencing creative block, and she was intimidated, like the screen and everything wasn't working for her. So when she went and took her dogs for a walk, she would just talk while she was taking them, and then she came back because she, her mind's on something else. And then she literally sold that book recently. So it worked out for her. So I guess now she's tweaked her process.
I haven't done it nearly as much with dictation as I want to, but something that I found that really helped me, because it's such a different kind of process from writing it out visually versus orally. And so I did it in the car. And if when I was doing long, like I'm in Indiana, I would drive to Calgary for this event, and it wouldn't be downtime because I would be yelling at my characters in the car. And then, but you can't get hung up on that's the wrong word choice, because sorry, it's in there now. I'm driving. I'm doing 80. It's they're not going to fix that. So yeah.
Because if you think about it, I mean, dictation is a more natural storytelling way than through your hands. We're so used to typing that it's become like our default. But yeah, okay, good. I'm going to make a note. I'm going to go back and try to do dictation more so I can write 12.
One of the Facebook groups that I'm
in their shower. A friend of mine has the kind of waterproof paper in the shower. So that's
where you get the ideas. You get the ideas in the shower. And you're like, I gotta get out of here and write it down.
Or put your phone in a Ziploc bag.
Yeah.
I bring waterproof paper with me when I swim, because I often have ideas when I'm swimming.
Seriously? I'll just repeat it over and over. I'm like, oh, I can't forget. Or when you wake up and you've had a really amazing dream and you're like, that was a great dream. And like 2 seconds later, it's gone.
So the take-home message of this panel, the secret to Nano is waterproof paper.
There you go. The end.
Yeah.
And talking to yourself.
Right. Our time is almost up. I just wanted to mention that one of the groups that I'm in, then there's been a number of questions lately, just the last week or two, from people with disabilities. One was going blind and was asking other blind writers to please, tell her some of the tips of the things that they did as far as, dictation and screen readers and things like that, so that she could keep writing even though she was going blind. And there was another one who was posting saying, I can't sit, I can't stand. the only way that I can write is lying down in the bed, and I need, I need some assistive technology to help me there, with laptop holders. There's ones like this or ones like this, and so, hundreds of people replying to her saying, yeah, I'm also bedridden, or I can only sit in a recliner, or that kind of thing, offering what their options and ideas were. So there's lots of things out there. If you're facing a physical issue, there are lots of ways to still get your words in.
My sister uses a projector on her ceiling because she's, got spine issues, and, so she can't sit up and work. So she's got a projector above her and her keyboard down below. So.
Oh, smart. How fun is that? Well, I'm curious, are any of you doing NaNoWriMo this year?
Yes.
I think I'm going to do it this year. Why not?
Yeah.
I think my schedule lines up that I can work on. I want to work on a new indie series, so I'll bang out the first book in November. So
I've also started.
I'm scheduled to do a young adult book for November, and my username over there is PDW. If anybody wants to friend me over there.
PDW. Okay.
Nice. I've also started doing the NYC Midnight Competitions. And so it can be in 24 hours, 48 hours, in 5 days, that either you're writing 100-word flash fiction, 250 words, 1,000-word short story, or it can be a screenplay, a short script, and they give you an object, an action, and a word that you need to include. And so it's fun for just getting some new ideas and just a challenge and challenging yourself.
Cool.
Yeah, I've got a friend in another writing group that's doing those too. That's cool.
And then I signed up for the novel in a weekend.
Oh, I've heard of that one. Yeah. Good luck with that.
Let's like the 30,000 words. Yeah, that is I think probably the hardest I've ever pushed. And I will be quite honest. My last 400 words, I'm pretty sure I typed in my sleep, and they are the worst 400 words I've ever produced. But I got 20-some thousand really good words out of that weekend. So it was totally worth it.
Great.
And I just want to, sometimes you'll hear people say, oh, well, if you're just going for word count, they're not going to be great words. Yeah. Do I get 50,000 awesome words out of Nano? No. Okay. But if I got 25 or 40,000 great words out of Nano, I can revise or throw away the rest. It's fine. And pushing for that goal gets me more than I had. So
exactly.
Yeah, you can't edit or publish what hasn't been written.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think very few writers will write through their first draft and their first go through and have it publishable. So some revise, 5 times, 20 times, 50 times, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years.
Well, now we're going to end on that depressing thought. 20 years for a book.
That's great. Thank you, guys. That was really fun.
Yay. Thanks, everyone.
All right. See you later.
Happy Nano.
Happy Nano.